Hi, this is Dr. Peter Hagen from Hagen Dental. As you're learning your Omnicam here, we've got a couple of cases that may help you gain some experience quickly. This case is something that has a few problems in it. You're probably going to encounter these as you go down your Omnicam trail here, so I thought a couple of workarounds would be good. So here we go. This is a large case. We've got 4 anterior crowns. We've actually got veneers on the cuspids and the bicuspids as well. And this case won't stitch together. We can't get the buccal bite to work. So let's take a look at the pictures. We've got our prep arch. We're also doing it in copy, although we're mounting the case. Here's our copy pictures as well. I want you to notice there's some noise in here on the side, so we're going to deal with that as well. But let me show you the workaround for stitching the case together first. Here's our buccal bite. This was taken before the teeth were prepped, which is pretty common. Sometimes it's easier to take the buccal bite before the patient's numb. It doesn't really matter if the preps are in there or not, but here's our buccal bite, and we've got our lower jaw. So let's go forward and let's take a look at this case and see what happens. All right, so here we are at the buccal bite registration, and you can see we've got our upper and lower model. We've got our buccal bite. It's upside down. That's not a big deal. You can do that. You can manage that a couple different ways. The easiest way in this software is just to click on that and it turns it over correctly. Really not a big deal. The other way to deal with that is to grab it below the equator and then it'll flip it over if you want to do that. But I find that this is a little bit easier. So what I see on this case is we've got a pretty large model and we've got a buccal bite that's absolutely huge. And if you want to look at the way the buccal bite works compared to the old software, it's very easy to take a lot of information with the Omnicam where before we took very little. And the way I like to look at it is when this is stitching together with the upper or lower model, it's looking for data that is similar. And if you use that as a percentage of what's similar to dissimilar, you'll see in this one that there's quite a bit of dissimilar information, especially on the top. We've got all of these teeth prepped, and here they're unprepped. These are prepped for veneers, so really our most common data is really only right in this area right here. So try as I might, I just cannot get these models to stitch together. I could move this model around, try to get it to be just right, but I've tried it several times, and no matter what I do, I just cannot get these models to stitch together. So if the patient's in the chair, this one worked okay, but if the patient was in the chair, you could simply go back and retake your buccal bite. But this case was done indirectly, so don't really want to have the patient come back if we can help it. So we're going to go back, and what we're going to do is start manipulating our buccal bite to see if we can lessen some of this information that's not common and see if we can still save this case. So we're going to go backwards to acquisition, let the computer take its time moving back here. It does take a few seconds. If you're not used to that with the Omnicam, just give it a chance to do its thing. And once we get back here, a little warning sign to tell us we're going to lose our models, that's fine. And once you get back to this screen, anytime you go backwards for you new users with the Omnicam, you've got these locks on here. You can either click on this and then unlock, or just simply click on the camera. That's exactly the same thing. So let's go back to our buccal bite, and now let's go ahead and trim out, using our cut feature, some of this data that is irrelevant and not common. Let's use our tools, cut. Again, it's a cut inside, so we want to eliminate stuff that we don't want to use. Double click to start, and let's just get rid of some of this stuff that's not what we need. So we're going to start cutting out some of this. We really don't need any of this data. We'll just cut out this whole thing. Let's just cut out the entire front of the model. And then click apply. And close this down while it's thinking. And once that's done, we're going to move forward again and see if we can mount the case. Alright, so here we've got our newly trimmed buccal bite. You can see I had to trim off quite a bit, but now if you look at what's left on our maxillary arch, most of what's in our buccal bite is now actual common data. We've trimmed away everything that was uncommon. Even our prepared veneer prep here was unprepared here. So I've got these teeth and this. Let's see how we do now. Then that buccal bite is pretty small. It has a lot of common data on it. There's our lower arch, and we bring this up here. Let's see if it'll stitch together. Now we've got our arch stitched together. So just that little bit of common data was enough to save this case. If you want to check your occlusion, first thing I would do on a larger case like this, just check to make sure you're not open over here. A nice little trick the machine will let us look at. If you click on Analyzing Tools and Model Contacts, it will open up your case and allow you to look at these to check your occlusal scheme to make sure you have contacts on either side. The colors aren't too important. What you want to make sure is that you have colors on both sides. The other area that I want to show you on cases that you are copying is a little trick that we've learned to do here over time to actually save time, and that's to make sure that the machine has stitched our pre-op over our preps correctly. So after you've mounted your case, go forward and get to your margination screen, but do yourself a favor. Before you do that, start marginating, you want to superimpose the pre-op over this to make sure the machine stitched it together correctly. So let's take a look at that. That's found in Display Objects. And here's your upper biocopy. If it was a lower tooth, it would say lower. Click on upper biocopy, and what should happen is your pre-op should be right on top of your prep. So let's take a look here. And in this case, this is what happens on this one. So you could marginate all of these, and by the time you got done marginating and getting your path of insertion, by the time you got to the copy line and you got to this, you would have wasted all of that time. So get into the habit of any copy case, regardless of the size. Before you marginate, click on Display Objects, click on your biocopy, and make sure it's superimposed over the tooth. In this particular case, it doesn't make any sense to go forward without trying to get the machine to stitch these together. Obviously, it's not going to work like this. So again, we're going to go all the way back to our acquisition screen, and what we're going to do is start trimming off some of this data to make sure that these two models look as similar as possible. And that's our game plan. Give it a minute to move backwards. Click OK when you see that warning sign. And unlock your camera so you can manipulate your pictures. The easiest way to do a copy case is to take your pre-op pictures and then take this arch and move it over here and, copy it over here to your prep arch, and then trim out the teeth that you're going to work on and fill those in later. And there's lots of videos on CEREC Doctors for that. This case was not done that way, and that could have been why part of this problem is. The other thing that we see that keeps the machine from stitching these cases together is any noise in your model. So let's take a look at this one in our upper biocopy. Even these little things right here, this noise, this incomplete tooth, any type of flash, that could all be responsible for your cases not stitching together. So let's use our cut tool here, and let's cut this out, and let's just make this model a little bit tighter. I'm going to trim off all of this. Remember, it's cut inside, so you want to just make a big loop around what you want to cut out. I don't even like this half a tooth here, so let's cut that out. Let's cut out anything that's not complete. We're going to make this model look nice and tight, and then we're just going to flip all the way around so that the stuff that we want to remove is inside the circle. I like to do it in one if I can. Click Apply, close this down. While it's thinking, I'm looking at this model because I want to cut my prep arch to be approximately the same. So I'm looking at where I ended here. I'm looking at where I ended here. How much did I cut off here? I want to make it look as similar as possible. So once this is finished with rendering, I'm going to move over to my prep arch and do exactly the same thing. Alright, now let's move to our prep arch. Again, I'm looking at this one. And now I'm going to change to this one and try to draw it approximately the same. Line it up. Use our cut tool. Let's trim off some of this noise. There's not a lot on this one, but let's get rid of it anyway. We went through about half of this tooth on the other one. We trimmed off this artifact, anything that wasn't complete. We just tightened up the model here. And just go all the way around and include it all in one if you can. Click Apply. Your machine will run a little bit faster if you close this down while it's doing that. And then once that's complete, we're going to move forward again, and we'll see if the models will stitch together. All right, so here we are back at the same screen, and we're ready to marginate. You can notice my model looks quite a bit tighter now. I don't have any flash around the side. I've eliminated all the noise. I did the same thing on the pre-op. So let's see how our trick works now. Display objects, upper bio copy, and that's what we're looking for. So disaster averted by just removing some excess noise on our case, and now we can proceed to copy these crowns, make some temporaries. This patient's going to have perio surgery, so she's going to get some temporaries, and we don't have to have her come back in and re-image, and we're able to move forward. So I'm hoping that those tricks help you a lot as you're learning about the Omnicam. It's a fantastic piece of equipment, and allows you to do these larger cases quite a bit more easily. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me anytime, and good luck.